E-bikes, they're always faster than a normal bike, right? The extra power of a pedal assist motor means there's simply no comparison between an assisted bike and one that relies solely on human power. Well, on paper, yes, but in the real world it might not be so clear-cut, especially when it comes to e-road bikes. That's because in the EU and many other countries, e-bikes are required to have an assistance cut-off speed of 25 kilometers per hour or 15.5 miles per hour in old money. Now, doing a consistent 25 kilometers an hour up a steep hill without a motor is pretty impressive, but you don't need to be a pro road riding athlete to manage that on the flat or downhill. Factor in the extra weight of an e-bike working against you even when the motor isn't helping out, and a purely human powered bike might actually have an advantage in some areas. So, how much faster is an e-road bike in the real world, and will it maintain that advantage even on the flat? There's only one way to figure this out, with a race. In the red corner we have the odds-on favourite packing a powerful punch despite the svelte looks. It's the eSCULTURA. Will the slugger power of the 40 Newton meters from the Mahler X35 drive unit and the 250 watt-hour battery be able to deliver a knockout blow? Or will the extra weight of the drive system and aluminium frame blunt this fighter's edge? In the blue corner it's the lightweight underdog. Quick off the mark with a toned and honed carbon fibre frame, it's the SCULTURA Endurance. Will it be capable of providing an upset with rapid-fire uppercut of agility and acceleration? Pre-match smack talk aside, these bikes are actually pretty evenly matched in a number of areas, the motor aside. They both have 700C wheels with 32mm wide tyres and geometry that's designed to be sporty enough to race, but comfortable enough to ride on all day. In these specs, they're actually fairly evenly matched on cost too, though of course the bike without the drive system does get much fancier equipment as standard. The arena for this competition will be a 26km long loop, taking in just under 400 metres of climbing. It's a short but representative road ride, offering up some undulating sections, a decent fast flat section and a fast downhill, and of course a steep climb to finish. Keeping things fair, the referee will be me, a rider of fairly average fitness and skill, and I'll be trying to keep my effort reasonably high but consistent between the two laps. While tyre pressures and as many other variables as possible will be kept the same, I'll be running the eSCULTURA in the maximum assistance setting, just so that we can see what the differences really are. So, the result? Well, it was always going to be a victory for the eSCULTURA, but by nowhere near the margin I was expecting. My lap took me 57 minutes and 44 seconds on the SCULTURA Endurance, and 5 minutes and 6 seconds less than that on the eSCULTURA at 54 minutes and 38 seconds. I mean, that's a good chunk of time, no doubt about it, but considering I had up to 250 watts extra to deploy, I've got to say I was expecting a little bit more. We're going to try and figure out why next. Before I get into that, a lot of detractors from e-bikes say that they're for the lazy. So you might be surprised to know that my maximum heart rate on either bike was pretty much the same, topping out 176 on the e-bike versus 179 on the normal bike. As the famous saying goes, it doesn't get any easier, you just go faster. To help my post-match analysis, I've taken some key areas of the course to look into a little deeper. The first is this prolonged fast downhill, where I'd expected both bikes to be on pretty much level pegging. It turns out I was actually faster by about 13 seconds on the normal SCULTURA Endurance, with an average speed of around 2 km an hour higher. Given my average heart rate was around the same at 134 BPM versus 132 on the eSCULTURA, I certainly wasn't cranking it like a maniac here either. I suspect this difference is actually explained by the fancy fast rolling tyres on the SCULTURA Endurance, and also the fact I'm a fairly timid descender on the road, and I think the lighter, more agile feeling unassisted SCULTURA gave me a bit more confidence to get off the brakes and carry extra speed through the corners. Now, the climb is obviously where we're going to see some big differences between the two bikes, and there are no surprises here, with the eSCULTURA absolutely demolishing the time of the unassisted bike at 4 minutes and 24 seconds against 5 minutes and 54 seconds. That's a minute and 30 seconds faster over a timed section of just 90 or so metres height gain, with an average speed of 18.7 km an hour versus 13.9. At an average gradient of 6.6%, but actually peaking at 13% in one part, this time section was the very last bit of an even longer climb, and it really shows how much difference the Marla drive system of the eSCULTURA makes to fatigued legs. While I actually shifted into the small chainring on both bikes going up here, the heart rate data really shows how much harder I was trying on the unassisted bike. With the helping hand of the drive unit, my average heart rate of 158 BPM was versus 171 on the unassisted bike, and this is actually where I saw my peak heart rate of the whole ride on the SCULTURA Endurance, which isn't a huge surprise. The final section of this comparison is on the flat, and it's where things really do get interesting. I'll admit stacking this section in favour of the unassisted bike because it's not really flat, it's fast but ever so slightly uphill. That meant that the motor of the eSCULTURA wouldn't be doing much here, as I'd be well over the assistance speed limit, but all the extra weight would be working against me due to the climb. It turned out here that I was indeed faster on the unassisted bike, but only by about 10 seconds over 10 minutes, which in reality is probably a bit too close to call. Once again, the heart rate figures tell a little more, with me working fairly hard on the e-road bike, but much harder on the normal bike. I'm putting this down to the unassisted bike feeling a little bit more lively, which egged me on to push harder, resulting in the marginally faster time, but also higher heart rate, though that is a little bit of a wild guess. So, what are the conclusions we can take away from this experiment? Well, the first is that when it comes to hills, even an e-road bike with a slimline drive unit like the Marla one on this eSCULTURA really does provide a substantial helping hand uphill. It also manages that while not being slower anywhere else. Yes, there were times when I noticed the extra weight, but that was generally when putting in a hard acceleration, and the low weight and snappy feel of the SCULTURA Endurance meant it responded instantly to any extra effort. That means the eSCULTURA really is perfectly suited to anyone that wants to ride with their buddies on unassisted bikes, but is always getting dropped on the climbs or starts to flag later in the day. It's going to give you a helping hand uphill without holding you back elsewhere. It really is like having a tailwind on tap when you need it. It's worth noting that despite being on the maximum assistance setting, the eSCULTURA had only used about 10% of its charge, so there was actually plenty left in reserve if I wanted to do an even bigger ride. I think the other area where the e-road bike would work really well would be for someone that has a regular hilly commute. You'd be able to do it all week, but still have fresh legs for your big weekend ride with your buddies later. All that said, for my preference, I think I'd still rather have the SCULTURA Endurance. It's a much more direct and lively feeling bike, and, to be honest, working hard is one of the things I really enjoy around road cycling. There's also a lot to be said for the pure feel of the SCULTURA Endurance. There's no hesitation when you stamp on the pedals, and it leans into corners perfectly, while the weight of the eSCULTURA is noticeable in some areas. Anyway, if you'd like to find out more about these two bikes, check out the links in the description below. If you've got any questions or suggestions for any other videos, let us know and we'll do our best to answer them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button up here to stay up to date with all things Merida, and check out our playlist here for some more cool videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.